Set a timer for 20 minutes.
All right, 20 minutes, starting now.
Please give a round of applause for Dirk.
Oh, that all went off my time, of course, that applause. But, well, welcome. I think this is my fourth appearance, I think, in the, well, I still call it Sake's, but...
It is still Sake.
It's the first time I don't get to talk about, well, my work, which is data science, but now I get to talk about a hobby of mine, which coincidentally, well, with the hackathon was a good idea to do now. I'm not an expert on the matter, it's just some things that I have in my house, which I bought. And I'm going to just show it to you, and how you can kind of make your own custom stuff from very easy to, well, not difficult, but more programming involved. So first of all, I bought a house last year, and this was the first time in my whole life that I lived by myself, because before I always had roommates or some people. So what do you do as a single man in a house? Well, you buy a lot of stuff to just put in there and just mess around with it. So I got about 10 LifeX bulbs. This is one of them. It's smart bulbs with Wi-Fi in them themselves. You don't need a hub or anything. I got 10 of them because they shipped 2, which I didn't order, and I got to keep them. So this is one of them. I got a Nest, which is nice. I got a Harmony hub. Basically, I use it as an infrared device to control my TV and my receiver and those type of things. I got a Sonos speaker and a Chromecast Ultra. I don't have the moving curtains yet. There was this Kickstarter, but I wasn't in time to order one, but maybe in the future I will have one to close the curtains. And I'm just building with this. My plants keep dying. I don't have very green hands, but there's also some stuff from that which I want to buy. And also hook it up to the system, but I don't have it yet. Furthermore, well, there's a lot of services also connected to all these devices. So I have Spotify, Netflix, YouTube. I watch NFL games a lot. Again, the TV and the Samsung receiver. Well, all of these devices can pretty much communicate with each other. The big problem with it is they all have their own apps. They have their own interfaces. They have their own remotes. And after a while it kind of got messy because you need to control it all with something. You need to open another app for something. So I decided that I had to do something about it and kind of integrate it all into one system. And that was around the time that also all the voice control devices came on the market. So I listed some of them. So Amazon was obviously the first one to have like a voice control device. I think it was the end of 2014 when the device came out for a limited amount of users, and then half a year later it got onto market. Well, you have the Amazon Echo, which was the original one, and the Echo Dot, which is a smaller version, and you can buy that one. I think you actually brought one.
Yeah, I brought one.
It's only $50. It's by far the cheapest option, and it doesn't have that well of a speaker of its own. So if you want to use it for music, you need to buy something else like a Sonos device or a Chromecast audio with some device attached to it. Yeah, they actually now they also have 2 more devices. One of which is maybe interesting for. Are there any fashion check people here? 2. The left one, the one with the display, that's the Amazon Show, and you can make video calls and all with it. I didn't thought it was super special, but the right one, the one with the blue thing, that's a camera. It's called the Amazon Echo Look. And it's meant for people who like fashion. So you put it in whatever your bedroom or whatever where you get dressed. And you can pretty much show your clothes in front of it, and you can make a lookbook, and it can tell you about how well you look, because they're trying to do AI on fashion, which is kind of interesting. But well, you can buy it for that. Later, the Google Home came out. This device, I obviously have it there. It has the Google Assistant as a speech assistant. Yeah, not much to really tell about it. It's from Google. And then later this year, the Apple will come with the HomePod, because they thought they wanted to innovate as well. So they're going to build one. I can tell you, for the price of one of these, you can buy 7 Echo Dots. So that's really, if you're thinking about putting one in every room in your house, this is, well, I don't know your salaries, but this is probably not a good option.
be good then if it's so expensive.
Yeah, it must be good. It must be. And that uses Siri, obviously. Amazon is actually, like, if you look at integration with other devices, it's pretty much the one that is furthest like, in their integrations, and they have the most devices. And there are some other manufacturers who are also integrating Alexa. I think Sonos, it's not really clear, but everybody thinks it's going to be Alexa, but they already said they want to have a voice assistant. Probably Alexa. You can also install this yourself on a Raspberry Pi, like the whole Alexa thing. And if you have a mic and a speaker, then it also works. So that's nice. Google is also doing some integrations, or at least other manufacturers, with Google Assistant. So Sony is, I think, releasing a new speaker soon. LG is going to put them in all kinds of home appliances. So your washing machine, your they also, I think I read they put it in a vacuum cleaner. I wasn't sure why would you need a voice assistant in a vacuum cleaner, but usually they make a lot of noise, but okay. Yeah, so there's also, well, Samsung is doing this Bixby thing, which is also a voice assistant. At first they said they were going to bring out a speaker, but later they said they were not going to bring out a speaker because the market is kind of full. Nobody really knows what they're actually going to do, but there isn't really a big announcement yet. Microsoft is also stepping into the market with their Cortana. There's this Harman Kardon thing and I think some Chinese, they look Chinese to me, I have no clue actually, but some other devices are also doing it. Cortana is also getting integrated with Alexa from Amazon, so it's all now like everybody is integrating everything with everything. But these three are really the biggest options, by far the biggest market share. Google Home. So you all must be thinking, why did you pick, if Alexa is so cheap and so much better integrated, why did you then still pick the Google Home? Well, there's one really simple reason for it. I have a Gmail account, I have a Google Calendar, I have a Google Drive with my own information. Pretty much Google knows everything about me already, so I figured if I'm going to put a speaker in my living room that's listening to me, well, I'm not going to put a second big company in control of all my data. So that's why I picked the Google Home. There's really not another reason for it. Yeah, Google Home has out of the box already quite a few integrations, like Alexa also has with devices. So, for example, LiveX or Philips Hue or Spotify or YouTube or Netflix. It has out of the box already these things. So, if I want to watch House of Cards, I can just say, okay, well, it's going to do something over. Hey Google, play House of Cards, and then it will look on Netflix. Yeah, it's listening to me now.
I looked for how to play House of Cards on Other Duluth, but it either isn't available or can't be played right now.
Yeah, because I have a Chromecast at home and it knows it has to play it on Chromecast. But I can basically say, okay, play this from Netflix and it will play that series on my TV. I can pause it, I can skip ahead or back into the timeline. It's like the most lazy thing to control Netflix on your computer.
You have to change languages, like if you have kids at home, if you want to...
Yeah, all the devices actually only allow English right now. It's also, they're not, you can't even purchase them in the Netherlands. Like, in the internet age, that doesn't really hold anymore, but I got it from the UK, for example. But no, there's no manufacturer has support for Dutch yet. Unfortunately, or I don't. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it can talk Dutch back to you, but I'll get to that.
And it doesn't recognize your voice in particular.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Yes, it has multi-users.
How would Sander be able to?
Because I didn't block Sander out or anything. It just knows if I ask for my calendar, then it will respond differently than if it would. My future wife would, which is not non-existent. Well, wait. Okay, I put that wrong, but you know what I was aiming for.
Okay, Google, find Dirk a wife.
Oh, shit.
I'm not sure how to help.
I'll block Sander next presentation. But anyway, what I wanted to show is that I can turn on the light bulb, which is not really spectacular, but just to show. Hey Google, turn on the theater.
You got it. Turning the theater on.
Hey, yes! Innovation. Hey Google, make the theater red.
Sure, changing the theater to red.
I can dim it, I can whatever, I can color the scene. It has like default integration with that. I didn't program anything for this. Hey Google, turn off the theater.
Sure, turning off the theater.
Well, now it's off. So usually I have scenes and I can just say put it on evening TV or whatever, and it just takes care of all the lights, puts my TV on, and I just don't have to touch a remote for that. But okay, if you want to move beyond these things, because it is not integrated with everything. For example, my Sonos is not integrated with it, with Google Home yet. I hope they will, but currently it's not there. I actually built it myself, and one of the first steps to do if you want to make custom commands is Ifttt. Who of you is familiar with this? It's a well, IoT framework. I think most people who did something with IoT know it. It's really simple. It stands for if this then that. And what you'll be able to do with this is, for example, you could have certain triggers. For example, if your favorite team plays a game, or if they score, or if it starts to rain, if you receive a tweet, if you receive a Facebook message, whatever. It triggers something, and once it triggers, you can do one particular action. So you could, for example, well, in our case, you want it to be triggered by Google Assistant. Oh, I need to create an applet. I can create a new applet. If this, then that. I can say do a Google Assistant trigger, and then I can do a simple phrase or do some variables in there. It's actually really easy. What do you want to say? I can put in there. So maybe I want to say. Well, it could actually give me some light or something, and then create a trigger. This supports French and German as well. I'm not really sure if the API also does it. Well, and if I now say this phrase, then I want it to do something. And I can, for example, put LiveX in here, which is also connected. I can say turn a light on. It loads now from the LiveX cloud which lights I have. I have a lot, as you can see. I can pick the theater. I can say, well, put it on instant, put it on some color, brightness, and I can create this action. So I don't want notifications. And now if I say, well, if I finish this, it usually takes a minute or so to sync.
Is this tool free?
Yes, it's free. Yeah, and it's actually Google support. Actually recommends this if you want to have custom commands to use this framework for it. I'll show you later if you want to do professional integrations, you have some other options. But basically if I say now, hey Google, give me some light.
Okay, performing action.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, it will perform the action. But you can actually also put a response in, so it will respond with some phrase. Well, now I created an applet, so you can integrate this with, well, Ifttt has far more integrations than Google has itself, so you can connect all kinds of things to it. I'll show you. Getting back to the presentation. Because if you do if this then that, you can only put one trigger, have one trigger, and then perform one action. And that kind of became annoying at some point, because you might want to do other things. One of the options to solve that was Stringify, which is also integrated with Ifttt. It's all integrated and everything. And you can create flows with that. So basically, you can have, if you have an Ifttt trigger, you can have it, the that function can go to Stringify, and you could have multiple things in there. But this is really annoying, because it only has a mobile app. You can't do anything on a website, and it's like ridiculously slow, and I hated this a lot. So I figured, well, I wanted to have something else. I wanted to do something else. For example, I wanted to connect to the Dutch Railways API and know if my commute is still going or if there's any delays or anything. Hey Google, turn off the theater. That kind of annoyed me with the light in my face.
Okay, turning the theater off.
I wanted to connect to the Dutch Railways API, and that has no integration in Google or in Alexa or in Ifttt. So I want to do something myself. Yes. Oh, wow, okay.
I have a library for that, so I might be able to.
Yeah, I also have a library. Yeah, so I wanted to do something, and I wanted to be able to do string multiple things together. So this is where the girlfriend, if I ever take somebody home, I just want to impress the girl. Hey Google, sexy time.
I don't understand.
Yeah, that one did work. So my lights go to this really smooth thing. There's this fire. There's nice music playing in the background, and you can't see it, but it can also put the temperature of my nest up, and maybe we should
That's why you want to
do something.
heavy clothes.
So I thought this would impress people, but you can't do that with Ifttt or Stringify very easily. So I wanted to build something myself, which is why I got Home Assistant and some custom Python things. I'll show it to you. So Home Assistant is this open source project, which basically, like if I wanted to do a Python thing myself to have everything in there, I needed to do all the integrations myself. And that actually takes really a lot of work, while there is open source alternatives who already do this. So Home Assistant has components for all kinds of things. It has sensors for Arduino and whatever. You can hook everything up. It's actively developed. I think the last release was actually within last week or somewhere. You can integrate pretty much everything. This is like the featured ones. And you can put everything in there. So to show at my home, the Home Assistant interface looks like this. It has a nice UI. It is all API based. It has all the lights. It has all my remotes and Nest. And I was watching an NFL game at that point. There's some scenes. You see at the top the sensor data from my Nest, which tells me what the temperature in my house is currently. Obviously, I didn't bring everything here, so I have this interface here, which is the local Home Assistant now for here. I can turn on the light. I can change stuff to another color.
Can you dim it?
I can dim it, sure. I can also turn it off. Well, this is an API-based system. So what you can do, I have your Postman screen. This is readable. I don't know. I can make an API call to it. So that's the local address, and it has this setting for the light. I can turn the light on through this. I can make it red, and I can turn it off again. Well, because of the time, I will skip a bit, pass it through it. I can also have it say something, because it has Google text-to-speech.
Hallo allemaal, welkom bij mijn praatje.
Oh, it's a really annoying voice. I love it. So yeah, through that I can pretty much have it speak back to me. I mentioned the NS API, so I built this Python thing, which so Ifttt has this webhook action, and you can basically have it made an API call to something. So it can make an API call to my house, and then there's the Python API running, which does things for me. I'll show it. But I couldn't do that here because there's no ports open. But I did create my own message queue for API calls, so I can actually. It's a bit slower, but I can actually make a call to the NS. So this is the NS API. You get this really Dutch XML, which is horrible. But it basically gets you can add this for free, access this for free. You need to get an API key, and you'll be able to do this, because the government has to make everything open, of course, and NS is sort of government-ish. What I can also do is this external IP or this external IP or IP address or server running now that's kind of through some route getting into here. If I call this on Ifttt, I can just do this. It will make a call to the NS API. My Python.
De trein van 17:21 vertrekt volgens dienstregeling. De trein van 17:36 vertrekt volgens dienstregeling.
Yes. So basically, I have this Python API, which runs. I created some standard actions, some standard API calls. I created all this while under the influence of beer, and I'm not a Python developer, so please bear with me. I created this API with Flask, which basically says, well, if somebody calls this commute thing, then perform NS commute. This will really be glorious, of course. So yeah, there's just a commute call. It has this endpoint with the station, which I'm commuting every day. So in the morning, I travel from that station to that station, and I use a particular version of it. So there's different possibilities, but I always do with one transfer. So I basically parse the whole thing and then create some sentence out of it. So if there's a delay, it will also tell me how long the delay is, and if the okay, this is a 20-minute timer. Okay, Google, stop. It's actually the most used function, because when I'm cooking, I use this as a cook timer. That's really the most used function. Anyway, I create the whole sentence, and then I have with the speech, with the Google Speech API, I make a MP3 out of it, and then it's transferred to this device, and it will tell me what time the trains are running. I use that actually every day, and I didn't have it this morning because I had everything packed. But you really kind of miss it when it's not there, so it really works. Okay, I need to go through it a bit quickly because my time is kind of up. That was actually the last slide. I did wanted to show maybe something about if you want to get, like, if you want to do something for this more professionally. Yeah, so you could either go through the Speech API, which supports Dutch. So that's, well, for Sanoma Netherlands, I guess important. We worked with this for the hackathon in April for the video profiling, and it works surprisingly well. So if you ever want to do some Dutch speech recognition, this is really good. It's also really cheap. And there's API.ai, which website was down earlier today. Apparently it still is. Well, that's actually Google's platform to create. Sorry? No. It's actually Google's platform to really create conversation style things, and you can deploy it to the Google Home instantly. And if you really want to have, like, if people want to have a conversation with this thing for your customer service, so if you want to make a Google Applet for Sanoma that handles customer service requests, I would recommend using this, or not, because the website does not work. But that really. That's really the tool. Then don't go through my Python APIs and that sort of thing. Well, it doesn't work, but it's really complex. So yeah, that was it. I don't have any more demos. Well, at least I have a lot, but that's it for now. Yeah, I'll take questions if there's time. Probably not. But.
Yeah, you can just remove your button and start setting up, then we can do the questions.
I can do that.
Also, anyone already ideas that you want to build during a hackathon? No ideas yet? Which of the devices should we order? So
I really like the Nest. It's automatically learning like when you're home and when you're not, and that works surprisingly well. Yeah. So that's a good one. I really like the light because usually when you buy a bulb, it has this certain brightness, right? And the brightness is never good. So, or at least once a day, it's a good brightness, but the other times it's not. And you can really dim them with your voice and everything. You can also buy dimmers, but.
And these lights are standalone lights, right? So they're not comparable to the U where you need a bridge and all the other.
Yeah, with the U you need a bridge.
And also the IKEA one.
I think so as well. But you can also hook them all up to the Home Assistant thing, so you don't need to specifically. Like you can use all systems. They can coexist now due to this, because you don't have like 3 apps to turn on and off the lights.
One of the things which is holding me back from buying these lights is the price.